Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, aka Caliban, and if Species 10cc communicates through dust, my apartment would be their infinite jest. Joining me on the show, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you.
We are, believe it or not, live on video.
Certainly are.
And so is your cat. It's great to have you here. It's great to finally be taking the leap into video, and we'll see how that works out throughout the night. Fingers crossed, obviously. But first I thought, since we are in a new medium, we would take an opportunity to reintroduce ourselves to the audience and let them know what we've got going on and where we hail from. So why don't you start?
Sure. I'm Ella. I'm from the Twin Cities, Minnesota. My apartment at
Go ahead.
my apartment at night is lit almost as if it were in black and white. I do my best to
Nice.
color grade myself with blush. But yeah, I started podcasting, I think actually probably 10 years ago this year, because I think I started my podcast with my dad, Generations Geek, when I was 14 and I am 24.
That's very impressive. And that's longer than I've been doing it. So you're the old pro here.
Well, thank you. I definitely think it took a few years to kick in. I think there was a lot of, gotta get used to it.
Well, you're there now. My name is Aaron, as I said before, and I started a podcast called Enterprising Individuals 7 years ago, which is a Star Trek discussion podcast where we talk about specific episodes of the show as picked by guests that come on, and we've had a lot of different guests from all disciplines and walks of life. And we talk about not only the episode, but we talk about the issues that are raised in the episode. And something we've been focusing on recently is like how Star Trek looks and how the Federation looks and how it's different from the kind of world that we live in. And if we ever have a chance in hell of getting to that world, which I think is something that a lot of Star Trek watchers really wish that we can. So social issues, if that sounds good, and also episodes of Star Trek, that's what we do. And that podcast and this podcast is part of the Just Enough Trope Network, which has podcasts of all different stripes, where we talk about movies and comic books, TV shows, anime, pretty much something for every stripe on Just Enough Trope. And you can find Just Enough Trope at Just Enough Trope on Twitter if you want to know more. So there we go. We're all introduced. You've got your cool you've got your cool Instagram filter on, and
my apartment lighting. Yeah. When it gets dark out.
The sepia tone filter. This is the part of the show where we usually talk about some of the news in Star Trek, and I wanted to announce fast some happy birthdays. Happy birthday to Gates McFadden, whose birthday was yesterday, and James Doohan was born on March 3rd as well. So Star Trek birthdays.
Wow. A couple of big names, early March.
I know, and I'd like to imagine, I think we all would, that they get calls from everybody. It'd be Skypes now, I suppose, from the old crew on the TNG show. Brent Spiner seems like a birthday call guy, right?
Oh, he does. And it wouldn't be artificial. It would be like a very friendly, fantastic, like 45-minute conversation.
It would start with him doing a funny character or voice, first of all.
First, he would do the bit, and then he'd be like, "No, for real, I love you. You're the best." And then the 45 minutes.
Like, hey, Brent. This is Masaka. This isn't Brent. Well, let's continue on to talk about the news. I wanted to mention this is less of news and more of a theory. We love theories on this show, and I wanted to discuss a theory that people are kind of kicking around, and that is that the Gilligan's Island reference that we heard a couple episodes ago was not an idly dropped reference to a show from the 1960s and 70s, but is a suggestion as to where the show might end up in the future, that the crew themselves might find themselves stranded after their 3-hour tour.
Like they themselves, gosh, now every time I forget, what was that short track called where the ship is?
Calypso.
Calypso?
Yep.
Boom. I guess I feel like we would have that maybe they'll make a planet their home.
Yeah.
I was going to say that I would think we'd see there might be a few more people, I would hope, on the ship once it got marooned, but that'd be interesting. I'd watch it.
Yeah, I think that it seems like it would be it would fit, what's been going on. There's been a lot of speculation about how Calypso might fit in, and maybe Calypso is the is the minnow in this case. I don't know. I guess the minnow sank, and for all of their coconut-based technology, they couldn't put it back together again. So maybe that's not going to work.
Coconut-based technology, mushroom-based technology.
Right.
We're looking at some parallels here.
I think it all makes sense. I think they all go together. We brought up before, and I think that it stands to be brought up again, that a lot of people remember Gilligan's Island, but a lot of viewers maybe are not familiar with Gilligan's Island. So at this point, they're kind of stealing from themselves, but it always renews. Everything refreshes. I think they can get away with it.
Tropes.
Yeah, tropes.
One might
say. Right, exactly. Nobody's going to get on them too bad for that. Well, let's get into the meat of our episode, and that is talking about the 11th episode of this 4th season of Star Trek Discovery. It's an episode called Rosetta, and we're here to talk all about it. And first, as always, a warning, we are setting a course for the spoiler zone, listeners. So be warned, we're glad you've decided to join us, but if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers are incoming. The official synopsis for this episode is, while Captain Burnham leads an away mission to a planet that was once home to the aliens responsible for the DMA, Book and Tarka secretly infiltrate the USS Discovery. The episode was written by Terry Hughes Burton and directed by Jeff Bird and Jen McGowan. The stardate for the episode is 865783.7, and there's one little fact that I wanted to share. There's not a lot of facts that we have about the episode right now. It just came out. But a friend of the show, Dave Stern, actually wrote a Star Trek Enterprise novel called Rosetta that focuses on Hoshi Sato in the 4th season of Enterprise. So I wonder if we'll ever see Hoshi Sato again, or maybe a descendant of Hoshi Sato.
Fingers crossed. I like her.
And it always it doesn't bug me, but it always, like, we've got a lot of these actors around. We're already seeing in Picard people are coming back, so there's no reason that we couldn't find some way. She's frozen in a block of ice or something, or I don't know, pineapple just makes you live a lot longer, and we just get Hoshi Sato in there, no problem.
I feel like every former Star Trek actor, we're having a bit of a tantrum, is like twiddling their thumbs,
they're probably all
like waiting for the call, right? Like, and now I'm Guinan.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg, like she's just been sitting on The View, like staring at her cell phone, right?
Yeah.
Just waiting for the call.
She's like, I know what's coming at some point. Come on. Yeah. Get back to me, Pat. There's probably a lot of calls to agents. There's probably, a lot of, like, I don't know if, like, actors do this, but a lot of likes on social media. If like a producer or a writer's like, they do it. Boy, the episode went so great tonight, and you're like, sure was great. Boy.
Do you think John Delancey was like, hello? Or do you think he's too big? I feel like he might just have an aura. He just waited for them to call.
The trial never ends, and neither does my commitment to this franchise. Please call me, please. Well, hopefully we'll see those actors show up in the future. What'd you think? What did you think about Rosetta as an episode?
I really liked it. I thought it was honestly super fun. I liked that it was a bit. I didn't feel as cramped as the episodes. Some of our episodes have. It seems like we're having A, B, C, D, and like maybe E plots lately. And I felt like this one, it didn't feel so much like they were trying to crunch like too much information into just 50 minutes. So I liked it. It felt like we had more time to watch the characters react to the situation. But yeah, I thought it was super fun. It's been a while since we had like a really good like mystery away mission.
Mystery, yeah.
Yeah, and I love a gigantic fossil. It's perfect.
I mostly agree. I felt like the kind of meandering that we've had in the story in the last 2 episodes, was gone. Like, we definitely had a lot of forward momentum in, like you said, the planet story. It's just like the the relationship sort of side stories kept like it was over 50 minutes. It's another really long episode, and I felt like a lot of that could have been, focused a little more. I know it's tough when you've only got 13 episodes, but like, do we need to have like Adira and Detmer like make a connection? Like, I think it's, they'd probably be friends. I think it's cool, but like having to stop twice to do stuff with them kind of slows it down. We've got like Book and Tarka are literally dieharding through the ship.
I was going to say they're wilding.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe. I was like, first of all, let's see some more fear with the sneaking through a Starfleet vessel. I'd be terrified.
They're pros. And then on the planet, you've got the away team is like literally like having the emotional response to this material. And then we cut back and it's like, steamed bananas and peanut butter and jelly, and it's just like, okay, it undercuts the tension just a little. But I like the fact that the fact that they're still developing all those things, and of course the return of Jet Reno.
Well, of course, and that's what I was going to say. Is I was going to be like, if I was Tarka and I was at that desk and Jet Reno was about to stiff me out, I would be terrified to my core. I would expect, frankly, a physical smack unbecoming of a Starfleet officer coming in my direction.
I liked the reveal at the end, but it meant that they had to yada, yada, yada the best part, which is, I want to see Jet Reno, like, with a gun in her back, like, oh, great, now this is happening. Like, how did he get her back to...
Doing the walk.
To book ship? Yeah.
I was thinking of that. I was like, I love a good, like a funny hostage situation.
Yeah, me too.
And Jet, Tig Notaro, she's built for it. She was made for it.
Like Dog Day Afternoon, like a funny, like hostage situation. Yeah.
She's born ready.
Yeah, so it was great to have her back. We have been we've been talking a lot on previous episodes about the propensity of some of our new characters to turn on us. As happens sometimes. And unless they're really, really slow playing your theory that the president is maybe not what she seems, we got...
0 for 2 on that one.
0 for at least 2, but we got...
0 for, let's see.
0 for a couple. But we got we got kind of a curveball tonight in the president of United Earth taking a turn on us.
I know that one. I felt, honestly, I had almost zero thoughts about her character, and I still felt betrayed. I was like, how could
Curse
you?
your unknowable betrayal of your character I'm not familiar with. But she hasn't really been on, but I thought it was cool to have her back. And as far as a character who has, like, the most invested in this, like, you can believe that she's like, look, this thing's gonna like, nuke Earth. Like, we gotta do something. We don't want Earth to be the next Quajon. So you understand her motivation.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they had a good amount of warning. I felt like the idea of the episode is that it's not enough to, evacuate the planet.
Yeah, right.
Which, I mean, not to get off track, but for me begs the question, how long is necessary for the emergency evacuation of these planets? Because it feels like we're in the future. I need it to be speedier.
Yeah, maybe they have... Maybe they've kind of slacked off on their planet evaluation plans because, if you get into a deep impact / Armageddon situation, you can just send, a ship out to take care of it. The only ship in the quadrant. So they don't have to worry about getting everybody off a planet necessarily. But
Yeah, I guess there's not always, a mining ship from the future that's threatening entire
planets. Oh my God, there's a lightning storm in space.
Like Florida.
You gotta get out of here. Yeah.
Exactly.
Or Florida, yeah. Somebody's cutting a groove into Florida. Get everybody out of there.
Oh, look out.
Yeah.
I wish they would. Take it.
And I think they've mentioned it before, but also you have to remember there's got to be colonies like on other planets, right? I mean, there's probably like people on the moon. So, Earth is obviously important. It's Earth, but people are from the moon. People are from...
think about that. What are they doing on the moon? I didn't think about it. What's going to happen to the moon?
Maybe there'll be... there's a great... what is it? There was a Chinese movie a couple years ago called The Wandering Earth. And for some reason, like, the sun is going out, so they have to, like, put engines on the Earth, and like they're going to fly Earth through space like a spaceship.
I haven't seen it, but I know exactly.
So maybe, if the Earth goes away, then the moon is just like, guess we're on our own. That's Space 1999, right? That's like what the plot of Space 1999 is. Yeah.
I haven't heard
Get
of that
Martin
one.
Landau in here and let's do it. I want to see that show. What else was happening on the episode tonight? it's funny how, and I know that like Annabelle Wallis is a busy actress, and her time's important, but if the scripts are planned ahead, she could just be in episodes, right? Like you could just record her lines, and then they'll just drop her lines in. But like it's weird when we talk about how important Zora is, and then we have this episode where like, oh, there's just the ship's not talking to anybody, and they're like, oh, we got to make sure Zora doesn't detect us. But there is no scene where we see like a little thing going back and forth. She's like, oh, what? Like
a little EKG.
Yeah. I think I've detected something.
I mean, maybe she's learned that it makes people more comfortable if she speaks a little bit less. I don't want to say something mean. The phrase that almost came out of my mouth was speak when spoken to, which I feel like that's not a Star Trek vibe. No. But she's maybe the third in my 0 for 3 as far as evil.
Okay.
It's going to be all her fault.
She's on the board still. Okay.
Yeah, maybe I should give her a little bit of a break. Yeah. Maybe she's giving me a break. They heard what I said on the podcast. They said, we hear you. We'll cut her lines out.
Maybe it's
so that everyone knows she's good.
Yeah, right. Maybe it's her fault that the crew ends up off of Discovery. Maybe they are fleeing her because she wants to make them watch Fred Astaire movies all the time.
But nobody would flee that. That's the problem.
That'd be pretty great.
That theory right there. Everyone would stay.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with
that. And then so the dude in Calypso, I don't remember if does he find the ship or is he there? He finds.
Yeah, he is. Well, he's like drifting through space, and he's brought on board by.
Interesting.
This character.
Maybe they do. I mean, maybe they're like, Zora, you're your own person. It's weird that we live and or control where you exist, right? And so maybe they're like, go forth. And then she's just like bored. She's just floating there. And she's like, oh,
get out of here. We don't want you.
They're like, go. They're like, you're leaving space dock. What's it's like empty nest syndrome. It's empty space dock.
Yeah, empty dock. Yeah, dry dock syndrome. It's funny that Star Trek and talking to the computer and asking it to do things prefigures like Alexa, but I think we're all worried about Alexa becoming self-aware or something like that. And we've got that on Star Trek now. It mirrors our modern fears.
I think about it every day. But I think about it every day because it didn't stop me from getting one, right? So now sometimes when I watch Star Trek and they're talking to the computer in Star Trek, she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. And I'm like, oh God, it's scary every time when she does it when the TV's playing.
Right, yeah.
It's mostly good though. It's fine. I find it handy. It's a good tool. And I already have an iPad, 2 laptops, the webcam, my phone, the TV, everything's got a microphone. Right. If they're not listening already,
there's something's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Well, right.
Exactly. Is your cat alive still?
He's, sometimes he just really likes to live up to his namesake, and he just goes on little adventures in my park. So there's just a giant boulder rolling after him. His name is Indiana Jones. He wasn't introduced to the people when he had his face on screen, but yeah, he's doing the boulder bit back there.
Nice. We've got top cats working on it right now.
Exactly. So, sooner or later, somebody will hit him with a pan. It'll.
Let's talk about the emotion dust that we see, specifically like the fear dust.
The panic attack dust.
Love, yeah, right. There's love dust, which I think you can get downtown. Something that's interesting is that maybe we'll get into it later, but. Bringing Culber along was smart as like the counselor and as a medical professional. But this could be.
McCoy always went.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this could be like the cure for PTSD, or this could be a treatment. They're already thinking that they're using psilocybin and things like that in trials for PTSD sufferers. And so if somebody was experiencing an episode, you could give them like a hit of nostalgia. You could give them a hit of safety, or you could spray your enemies with fear.
It's like a non.
That's the Section 31 take.
That's. I was gonna say that's so we're crossing a line. I was gonna say it's a it's a non-addictive Xanax,
Oh.
right? That's what I said. Saru needed in the first season. 4 years later.
Next episode, we find out they're all hooked. Like they're all like, I need some of that love dust.
That's an original series episode. We're not gonna
right,
do
yeah,
that.
yeah. But it's a fascinating idea that they would communicate with these substances. Of course, that's their theory. So I'm assuming it's right, but they don't know that that's what this is. But that's the going theory.
I also liked how they were talking about essentially they were just like vibes are a science, right? They were like, I can sense the vibe as a species. Why not these guys? They're huge, They're also a little terrifying that they're so massive, but that's a whole other. That's a side note.
That'll look cool when we see them in person.
If we see them,
and they I like their deduction or their induction that it's it's a nursery, so they understand caring and they understand nurturing, which I guess is true. I mean, like velociraptors have nurseries. But hopefully 10C.
I was going to say, if we're going to look at, Earth's history as far as paleontology and assuming that somebody cares about the babies because they have a nursery.
Well, it'd be interesting if...
It's really just essential for survival, right?
Yeah,
like
you have to
unless you're like, I don't know what... Oh, what's a good example of something that is just like, and then they're just like off? I'm sure there's been
sharks, I think. I don't think sharks raise their young.
Really? They just go out? I guess you're right. Yeah, their eggs were better than they just, I don't know why I was like, really? Like there's little baby sharks following.
Yeah, right,
like bigger sharks around.
But it's interesting if this comes back. I don't think it will, but if it comes back to bite them on the ass, because they spent a lot of time pointing out that our assumptions aren't necessarily valid. Like these creatures developed we now know, like in a gas giant in a totally different environment, and so. Can we use the same inductions that we would? Can we use the same ideas like, oh, they've got a nursery, therefore they care about their children? I mean, we should always assume that they love their children, but we don't know. But I like the fact that we are seeing, a weird new alien species. I think that's really neat. And it's not just, if this was Voyager, and I love Voyager, but if it was Voyager and they were sent out beyond the galactic barrier and found a planet, it'd just be somebody with weird ears or something like that. It'd just be another human race. So I like the fact that we're taking it to like a different level.
Well, especially like to this extent, right? I mean that they are massive. And what was that line about them floating in the gas layers? I was like, okay, well, I'm getting like War of the Worlds, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, when are they going to find the tripods? That's what I want to know.
Exactly. That's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm always waiting for.
Let me see. Space Valium. I think we covered just about everything I can think of. Let's talk about Saru. Saru had...
Oh, that's what I was about to say.
Saru had a few moments tonight, and I thought it was fascinating. He's taken kind of a backseat as a character as we've been doing other things, but I love the idea that he was, he knelt in the stuff or whatever, so he's the first affected. But as he's being affected, it's not only affecting him, like a lot of panic attacks, like it's uncovering things that he, fears that he already has or the memory of that fear. And so he's just like, gah! Like he's just really paralyzed by what's going on. And later when he's okay, he's like, I'm fine, but...
I'm fine, but who? Remember when they used to hunt us?
I got a lot I'm working through still. Those scars kind of stay with you.
He's the one that needs to see the ship's counselor. And not about, not about who he likes.
Right.
Like best he plays.
Fun tease with that this week. Maybe we'll do more next week. But speaking of Indiana Jones, no time for love. We got to fix this 10C problem.
I guess I'm still in I'm very interested. I think I'm like invested, but it's also, it's still just a little hard to watch for me. And that's not like a dig. I don't think I'm not saying it as like a negative to the scenes that they're in together, but I am today. I was like, oh no.
Interesting.
I felt it coming and maybe that's a me problem that I'm embarrassed about it, but it's like, every time I think that, and maybe it's that she's a Vulcan. Every time I'm like, oh, we're gonna see this.
Oh,
It's gonna be
okay.
uncomfortable.
Like it's going to end
Anyway,
badly.
yeah, like I just feel like if any, because if you could, can you imagine any other character just be like? I guess it helped that she made the first move, kind of several first
Uh,
moves.
yeah,
So we'll start
yeah,
there, but just questionable. I don't know if questionable is the right word.
yeah. I don't know. He's such a good person that I'm not too worried about how it turns out. It'd be great if it went forward, but I don't think that he's gonna really lose it over it or anything like that. I hope not.
Oh yeah, I don't think he'll go like crazy, but it is like
he's just
I don't know if I
he's just
were.
hollow calling her over and over again. She's like, no, swipe.
He starts. She blocks him. He starts sending her Venmo, future space Venmo, 1 penny. Please answer my holocaust.
Don't know that. I don't know that tactic. I gotta write that down. He's outside. He's outside of her.
Oh.
He's outside of her stateroom in space. With a boombox. Can't hear anything. No air. Yeah, hopefully we can avoid that.
I feel like we got put on both of. I feel like we got put on blast with the Gilligan's Island reference. What was that last week or the week before? And now I'm like the Venmo trick, and you're like boombox, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's just two different generations. I made a welcome back Cotter joke on another podcast I was doing, and it fell pretty flat. So that's a sitcom from the '70s, but that's what I'm drawing from here, so you understand. Anything else that you can think about that we need to talk about for this episode?
I don't know. Should we talk about Adira?
Yeah, sure.
I guess I don't disagree with what you said earlier about how like why did we have the scenes with Adira and Detmer, but I did like it a lot. And I think it was more effective than a lot of the other like kind of character scenes we've had lately.
Okay.
Or at least for me, I was a little more engaged with it. Detmer hasn't really gotten a ton of, she's very good. She's had, but I'm interested to see if they go forward with this, if they get the same kind of attention that like Adira and Gray got, not in the same way, obviously, but just like a mentor-mentee.
Okay.
As clearly the ship's adopted youth.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely, as far as Adira goes, we've got to get them to connect with everybody. This just felt to me like, okay, we've got Adira and Detmer this week, and so we'll, put them together and see what happens. And like, Discovery's like, it's the hangout show. Like everybody's kind of friends and everybody like relates to each other. But as far as like a character like Adira and a character like Detmer goes, like, would these guys be friends at all? Wouldn't Adira be like, hey, what's going on? And Detmer's just like, all right, Munchkin, keep moving. She's like the hotshot pilot, and she's got a lot of like trauma in her past, and so who knows? Maybe Adira will help her open up a little bit. But if anybody was going to bounce off of each other, I think it would probably be Detmer and Adira. So I'm waiting for the show to prove me wrong.
Yeah, I feel like she has the vibes of like, oh, she's like your friend's really cool older sister, or she's like you like your cousin that's like too cool, right? Like she's like, or like your cool babysitter, right? Where you're like you're like tell me the secrets, like how do I layer my necklaces, right?
Yeah, sure. How do I layer my necklaces?
I don't know.
Well, I gotta hook up with Detmer and find out.
We'll learn. We'll learn with
you.
Yeah,
it's just life's about learning and layering. I think that's all that I was just looking at my notes. I think that's all that I wanted to say. I mean, as far as, we're kind of building up to the end. And so not a ton is happening, but yeah, I think this was a solid one. One thing I wanted to say was, once this is all over, and hopefully it will end positively and there will be, an Earth and a galaxy left still, I would love to get like an Earth episode or like an episode like Family, like TNG's Family, where the characters all aren't on the ship. They all go to, the family that they have left. Obviously that's tough, in the future, but whatever connections they have, they explore. we had that one scene where the Earthbound characters, got to go to Starfleet Academy in the 32nd century, and so maybe like an episode where like Tilly looks up her great grandchildren, or just the people she's related to. I definitely want to see Sukal again. Just do a thing where we take those 3 stories and they're all just like domestic stories where the characters are just finally kind of trying to insert themselves into the 32nd century, because they're out working all the time. They're always trying to avert the end of civilization, and they've got to do this and make these tough decisions, and I'd like to see them just chill out.
Where is Tilly?
I don't know.
That's the big question. I feel like Starfleet Academy. Yeah. In universe, assuming she's at Starfleet Academy, it's just I feel like maybe it's been a few weeks since we've talked about her, but I feel like every time we talk, I'm like, any day now. That could be any time. Could be any moment that I'm going to see those red curls. Okay?
Yeah. They've got something big in planned, I'm sure.
I know. I feel like we're going to have like a full episode of like what's been happening to Tilly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you could do it.
I mean, I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, you could do a solo episode, which is like a Tilly episode.
Yeah. I wish they would.
Well, send your letters in. Let's get that going. I want to see that happen.
Good old-fashioned Star Trek letter writing campaign.
Yeah. Well, I think if that's all of our notes, then that is it for our show this week. And thank you for joining us, viewers, not just listeners. And if you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTPOD for updates and to get notified when episodes of both Enterprising Individuals, our main show, and episodes of Discoverage are released. And you can tweet to us on the show by using the hashtag Discoverage. And you can email us at eistpod@gmail.com if you want to drop us a line. And while you're on the internet, why not stop by our listening platform of choice and subscribe to the Enterprising Individual show. Give us a rating and a review because it really helps us out. And also subscribe to us here on Twitch as well so you know when we're going live again. If you want to help the show grow, stop by our Patreon page at patreon.com/EISTPOD. And as always, if you like the show, tell a friend. Discoverage will return on March 10th for the 12th episode of Star Trek Discovery's 4th season. We don't know anything about it yet, but we will be here next Thursday to cover it. We're going live once again at 8 p.m. Central right here on Twitch, so join us then. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook to get notified when we're live and broadcasting. And in the meantime, why not check out our main show, Enterprising Individuals, at enterprisingindividuals.com. Every Wednesday on the show, I and a special guest discuss in excruciating detail a selected episode from a Star Trek series. We also have news from the Trek sphere and interviews with special guests. And this season, we're doing something totally different for the show. We're covering the Star Trek films. So this year, we are covering all the Star Trek films. We've covered motion picture already. And out next week will be our discussion about The Wrath of Khan. But the show is currently on break this week, so you can access all previous 6 seasons of episodes at enterprisingindividuals.com or wherever you get our podcasts. Let me suggest instead that you check out our sister podcast, Backtrekking, where my co-host Gooey Fame and I look at the real-world inspirations behind classic episodes of Star Trek. Our most recent episode just dropped, and on it we take a dark turn into noir as we discuss the TNG episode, The Big Goodbye, as well as the film that inspired it, or one of the films that inspired it, The Maltese Falcon. It's the stuff that great podcasts are made of, and you can find Backtrekking at Backtrekking on Twitter or wherever you get your podcasts. Ella, thank you, as always, for joining me to talk about tonight's episode of Discovery, and remind people where they can find you online.
Thank you. My home podcast that, as I said earlier, I started when I think I was 14.
Yeah, brag.
It's called Generations Geek, which I do with my dad. So if you want to hear, I'm sure there's some embarrassing stuff on there. So, everyone get in there. There's something for everyone.
I don't envy you. You have audio baby pictures.
Yeah, can I tell you something? One time I walked into the kitchen and my dad was listening to a podcast, and I was like, what podcast is my dad listening to that has a 13-year-old boy on it? And do you want to know what podcast it was?
Was it your podcast?
It was this podcast. It was me. It was me on this podcast. So it only gets better from there if you go back in the years.
I don't envy you, but yeah, embarrass Ella and listen to her show. No, yeah, check out Generations Geek at generationsgeek.com. Of course, you can find me at K-A-1-I-B-A-N on Twitter. You can find all of the shows on the Just Enough Trope Network at Just Enough Trope. Also, if you're a Picard fan, this week and for the next 2 weeks, we'll be talking about the latest episodes of Picard at 9 p.m. right after this. So stick around if you want to hear us talk about the second season premiere of Picard coming up at 9 p.m. And that is it for us. Thanks for listening. We are signing off. This is Aaron for Ella saying, live long and prosper.